The reaction to Castro's death here in the U.S. has become yet another passionate political argument, with very different statements coming from different politicians and very different perspectives on what comes next. Correspondent Kevin Corke has that part of the story from the White House.
Pathetic. That's how some have described President Obama's statement regarding the death of Cuban dictator Fidel Castro, who died over the weekend at the age of 90. In his statement, the president said, in part, "We know that this moment fills Cubans in Cuba and in the United States with powerful emotions," recalling the countless ways in which Fidel Castro altered the course of individual lives, families, and of the Cuban nation. Adding, quote, "History will record and judge the enormous impact of this singular figure on the people and the world around him." Obviously unimpressed, congressional lawmakers pounced immediately. Florida Senator Marco Rubio tweeted, "President Obama issued a pathetic statement on the death of dictator Fidel Castro with no mention of thousands he killed and imprisoned." Fellow Cuban-American Texas Senator Ted Cruz followed up, tweeting, "Marco's right. Why does Obama persist in showering love on our enemies? Castro was not leftist chic. He was a murderer and a thug." And then there was this from Florida Congressman Republican Carlos Curbelo, whose family was personally targeted by the Castro regime.
It's why so many people in this country are frustrated and voted for a change candidate in this last election, because they see and listen to politicians like the president in this case, who are unwilling to state a simple truth, that Fidel Castro was a dictator, a murderer, an enemy of the United States.
Today, in calling him a towering figure, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest said the president's statement about the dictator didn't whitewash his past.
To issue some sort of blistering statement and engage in the kind of mutual recriminations that are tied to the past, it doesn't advance freedom or democracy on the island nation of Cuba.
Castro's death comes just as the Obama administration has renewed relations with the communist nation, a Cold War thaw that could just as easily refreeze under a Trump presidency. Speaking of, the president-elect tweeted, "If Cuba is unwilling to make a better deal for the Cuban people, the Cuban-American people, and the U.S. as a whole, I will terminate deal." President Obama, not the only world leader being criticized, Brett, for his statement about the passing of Fidel Castro. So is Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Very interesting. He called Castro a remarkable leader, and that really drew the ire of so many people, not just north of the border, but all over the world. Lots of people making fun of him, including many on Twitter, that is, were using the hashtag Trudeau eulogies to ridicule his glowing statement. If you haven't seen those, by the way, Brett, they are worth a read. Back to you.
Kevin Corke live on the North Lawn. Kevin, thank you.